So today the new topic, effects of changes in populations, is how the effect of the population, which impact the population will have in the resources, in the life quality, and the economic growth. Economic growth is unthinkable without people, because at the end of the day, even we live in robot times, at the end of the day, the people is the one leading the projects or working. They are the brain behind. The people. So the effects of changes in population. The population is going to change for three factors. Anyone remembers?
Population, birth rate, death rate, net immigration.
Yeah, well done. So if there is a decrease, so many people will think, well, if there is a decrease in death rate, so the death rate go down, what will you think is going to happen with the population? Yes, that's the normal. The population grow up. Now I will put question mark here. Why? It depends. It's death rate in regards or depending also with the birth rate. So if the death rate goes 10% lower, okay, but then the birth rate, you will see the population will increase, right?
Yes.
But what happens if the birth rate, the children born in the country, it goes down 20%?
Then the population decrease.
Yes, because the rate of the birth rate has 20% and this one has 10%. So the birth rate decreases much more than the death rate. It's a greater than the death rate. So there is less people dying, so less people died, but also there is much less people being born. So then here it's good because the death rate goes down, so there is more people, the population grows up. But then also there is less children being born. So maybe the impact of the population here is going to go 10%, right? But here, the birth rate will make the population decrease maybe at 20%, I don't know. Anyway, the overall effect is a decrease. The population will go down 20% here because less people being born, but 10%. So the overall effect, which will be?
Population goes down by 10%?
Yeah, exactly. So population go down. And there is an interesting case in the video, in the book. It says Latvia's population. By the way, anyone know where is Latvia?
Latvia?
Latvia.
Next
to Estonia, the famous Estonia.
In Europe.
Yeah, there is a map here.
No. It's
here. Next to Russia. So okay, let's do like. Okay, I cannot make it. Anyway, Latvia is a tiny country. Usually are three countries: Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. So the second one, very influenced by Russia. I think even there was a time it used to be very Russian speaker. Now the nationalistic movements are very strong. So nowadays, but it has a strong influence from Russia, but it's in Europe. This country, Latvia, has a problem. For example, Latvia's population declined because foreign of birth rate is greater than its death rate and net immigration. So it means that, okay, the problem with Latvia is the birth rate goes down a lot. So Latvia population, why is declining? So you see, what's the problem? In Latvia, there is less people dying. Okay, there is less people dying. So it should be an increase in the population. But what happens is that, yes, there is less people dying, but there is much less people being born. So that's why then, at the end, there is less people in the country. Okay? So there is let's go to the point. We're going to analyze first the good of positive, negative, advantages, disadvantages in the population, an increase in the population. So, effects of an increase in population. Let's go first with the advantages.
More
The best, say again?
more people for it.
Increase in labor force, that's true. The great advantages, I want to highlight the great advantages of increasing population. They will come along with a situation or previous situation when we are underpopulated. So if the country is underpopulated, the advantages will weigh much more than the disadvantages. So there is not much advantages when the country is overpopulated. So we take a country with this underpopulated. We can go like a big extensions of Siberia. We can go to big extensions of Mongolia, or some parts in some islands. So even inside, still in Australia, the desert inside. So if population below optimum size, the country, what happened with the resources? If there is more people coming in, they will make better use of the resources or a worse use of the resources?
Better.
Better use of resources, yes, that's right. Okay, I will give you an example, real life. In Australia, 30 years ago, I believe, in the middle of the desert of Australia, they were usually the Aboriginals, the indigenous people from Australia, before the British took the island. You know a bit the story of Australia? No? No? How do you think that in Australia there is white people?
Because of the
Prisoner.
prisoner.
Exactly. Like the Queen of England or the Crown at the time, I think it's in 17th century, they found this island, okay? At this time, the most part of the world were already explored by Drake. Drake was a pirate. And other explorers, the Spanish, the Portuguese, everywhere, but especially the British, they went to the Pacific Islands. They went to this island and they killed with weapons, many of the people original from the island. And they start to bring people from England, where they were prisoners, so they were criminals, and it was the region. But after 100 years, bringing people, they adopt different policy. They say, well, we have a lot of prisoners, so let's build new cities. So they took usually the cities next to the sea. Why? Because it was, when they arrived, they came to the port by boats. It was the time of the boats times. So they stay usually on the shore, on the island, but not inside. And then we go in the 20th century. So the British people put the indigenous population inside the country. And all the cities over the island on the shore, they were taken by the Australian descendants of the British, of white people. But there was nothing there. All of a sudden, they discovered mines. They discovered mines when they sell commodities, jewelry, gold, silver. So they find, all of a sudden, Australia made people. Because they need to exploit these resources, but in Australia, there were not even 10 million of people at that time. So this is the time, like 40 years ago, you could go to Australia, you get there, you don't have problems with immigration, they come here, they give you land, and you can stay. They need colons to come into the country. Why? Because they found resources. So at that point, a country which is considered population was okay according to the resources, when they discover new resources to be exploited, then this country turned into underpopulated country. It means a country in need of people because there are resources to be exploited. So many people, coloners, come to Australia from many parts. That's why there is a big Greek and Italian community there. They went there 40 years ago. Now it's much different, the situation. But now there is a scarcity problem with the mines inside the country in Australia. So there is no anymore. You used to be paid a lot of money if you work in the mines in Australia because they need people and it's dangerous. So many people then were in search of making money and they grow a lot. So this is when they make a better use of resources. These immigrants came, and if it's not because of them, there will not be enough people to exploit these resources recently found. So that would be a better use of resources. Please remember we are below optimum size. We are underpopulation, okay? Size of markets will increase. Anyone can explain it? That's the important one. Everyone can. What does it mean, size of market? They're going to have like a market on the street and they are selling fruits and they will be bigger.
So more people earn money, they tend to spend this money for the size of this.
Exactly. There's new people coming into the country and there is new creative needs. So more people, these people is going to, remember GDP is consumption plus investment plus government expenditure. The consumption component is very important. These people will go to the country, they need to eat, they need to have a house, they need to put electricity and water. This is more money and also government can tax these people. So it's good. So it's not like the people go and steal jobs. Because they are not just steal, the people will say that, well, they're immigrants, but they steal jobs. No, because first of all, they need people to work. They have not enough people to work. So otherwise, these resources will not be exploited. And plus, furthermore, thanks to these people coming into the country, they also can increase the size of the market. There is more chances, more opportunities to sell your goods to these people. And these people can become entrepreneurs. So maybe you can come from China, or you can come from Europe, you go, like Italians and Greeks, they make a lot of restaurants there. So they create new businesses, new markets, new necessities. So this will happen with new people coming into the country. It's not just they take the jobs, but they spend their salary in the country. I can argue about this. Many people say, like, for example, you know, that with the Brexit. You remember all the thing with Brexit? If you see the people, Brexit, like England out of the European Union, United Kingdom. If you see the map, those one voting for this measure to be put in place, who voted positively about Brexit? Who voted Brexit? It was people in the countryside. Usually middle class workers working in industrial sector or agriculture. That was voting. But if you see London, they didn't want Brexit. Why? Because there is a huge business. London is a city which is get fed by people coming from different parts of the world to work there, but also to create business. You imagine all these people from Spain, Italy, France, England, they live in London because they cannot stay because it's difficult. They will go to Europe to work. So the guy which is selling coffees in the morning to the workers to go to work in the hotel or to work as a waiter, they have no clients. Real estate. You know how much money you pay for a rent a room in London? It's incredible. You pay $600 per month. $700, that's the cheapest. Or you pay $1,000. Who is renting the rooms in London? Who? Immigrants coming to London to work. So yeah, they get their salary, they work. Let's put an example. I was in England before. I was working in a hotel, receptionist. So I earn like $1,300 pounds. It's not much then, and it's because it's very expensive, this city. So from my money, almost half of my salary, 40-30%, I have to pay a room. Then I have to go to supermarket. Then I want to have some beers with my friends. So all this money, I get it from my job, but also I spend it in the country. And maybe I save 200-300 pounds to take to next country. It's very good business. If now Brexit, all people have to leave the country, all these immigrants, they have to go away to different countries, maybe European Union. So these people is not going to pay real estate, they're gonna stay there. So if I'm a property manager, there's no business for me because there are no immigrants coming in. There's no people renting house. If I have a house, I cannot rent to the Polish people. Polish people, they have to leave the country. You know what I mean? So it's not so easy. That's why London needed to stay in Brexit. Also, London, you have this which is independent from England, the city of London. Okay, city of London is London, but city of London, the city, is a bigness neighborhood. They have different rules, and they don't go with and it's like a hub for businesses in the world. So many American, if you walk on this street there, you hear American English. So there are a lot of American companies go there because, you know, the traditional and ancestor links between England and the script quite strong, and they speak the same language. So it's like how the American companies enter in Europe by London. They put the headquarters in London, and then they have access to European markets. So there are many interests inside, crossing each other. Increase in factor mobility.
Sure.
Yeah. What does it mean, factor mobility, guys?
Mobilize.
Have you ever heard about Exodus? The Exodus. No, the Exodus from the Bible. They use also like labor exodus.
I heard that it's like move.
Yeah, exactly. Exodus will be like in South Korea, children from farmers going to Seoul to work. They go to a degree and they stay in Seoul because it's the business. They are not gonna stay like maybe in South Korea you have a problem in the countryside. There's no young people, just old people. Because they are born there, but they have to go to Seoul to work because they want to have a better life. Each time has its business and its sector. It was agriculture, like 1 century ago was the jobs were in factories, and nowadays the jobs were in services in big cities, and who knows what is going to happen in the following 50 years. Because now with internet you can work from everywhere. So now you are location independent worker. So it means maybe you can go back to your village and work from there online. So I don't know, but the way it happens, and it still happens, is the size of the cities, like in Spain, for example, by instance. Okay, this is Spain. Well, this is Portugal, okay? So that's Spain. So what happened in the 60s? No, I think in the 70s, sorry, a lot of industry came to Barcelona and Madrid. And then you have the coast. Right? So now in Spain, if you go, I think a huge amount of the big part of the population lives on the coast. In Spain, here or Madrid or Barcelona. Here, in this part, in the countryside, there is almost no people. This is because in the 70s, there was a huge exodus. People from here, around, they went to Madrid. So Madrid absorbed of this labor force. So this is mobility inside the country. So it means when the European Union works the same way. So if you are an architect in Spain and you have no job, you will move to Germany. If you are a doctor in Spain, or Italy has a lot of doctors, they will move to England because they are in need of doctors. So this is mobility, and it's very good for economic growing because people can move where the job is and according to their specialization. So they are not compelled to be one part of the country without job. They can move. So this, when it is an increase in population, there is also factor mobility. You can move huge amounts of people geographically, but also in different economic sectors. So from agriculture to industry, from industry to services, from services to commerce. Now tourism. For example, here people working in tourism in Chiang Mai with elephants, so tours around the country. That would be one. Someone said this one before, rise in labor force. Okay, if there is more people and we are under population, there will be rise in labor force. How is the 2 ways to increase the population in the country, guys? 2 ways. One is immigration. What is the other one? Increase of the childbirth rate, yes. So more children bring. But what happens if you have many children? What is going to happen with the dependency ratio? Will it increase or decrease?
Increase.
Yes. Why? Because child cannot work. It will be part of the dependent part of the population. So eventually, now, because of so many children, you have to wait 10 years, 15 years to start working, let's say. The dependency ratio is going to be bad. So in the short term, it's not positive. But what about in the long term? In the long term, it will decrease. When these children, they are born now, the dependency ratio will go very high. So the families has to make an extra effort to invest in their children, in their education, to spend money to consume for the children. Once they reach 16 years old, all these children, they pass from dependent age to labor force. And then in the long term, the dependency ratio will go high. Then after 16, 10, 15 years, will decrease exponentially. And that will be good for the country because all these children, that now they are adults, they enter the labor market in order to be productive. So there is a rise in labor force in the long term, not immediately. Yeah, so I think any other advantage you have in mind, guys, that it could be? I have many, but not from an economic point of view, but for example, sociologically. When you have new people coming in the country, there is new trends, new culture, new things that they were not before. For example, let's say that you have an Austrian community going to the country and they build an opera, right? Or you have people from different religions and they interact each other. You can learn one from each other. New kind of businesses, like the Greeks, they bring their gastronomy. Or people from Middle East traveling to America, they bring their food. And people learn, they have a richer life. The work becomes bigger. It's one of the nice things to live in a big cities like New York or London. You have the world there. And there is something going on all the time. You can enjoy Russian ballet. Then you can go to see Italian opera in the same city. Or you can enjoy the Greek tragedies in artificial amphitheaters. Because all these people, they carry on their cultural background. They come to the country and they create communities. And this is new chances for businesses. Because you maybe come from China, or you may come from a country, you go new country, you go with idea, and you put in place. And it's a total success in this country. Because in this country it's totally new. So, advantages, guy. Everything below optimum size, right? The advantages will be great if we are below optimum, if we are underpopulated. Because there are many things to be done. Still, we have resources to be used to make the country richer. We are going to increase the market. So if there is increase in the market, we will be an increase in demand. There is chances to create new businesses, new opportunities for immigrants to come and create a business, for example. Increasing factor mobility. People come and they can go from one sector of work to a different one. And rising labor force. We have more people available to work. Young people, immigrants coming in. Or either newly born children also as well. That's the advantages, okay, of an increase in population when we are below optimum size. What happens if we are... Let's go with the disadvantages, guys. When the disadvantages will be more important than the advantages? In which situation? It will be the opposite of the advantages. So, any guess, girls? Shopping? So, when the disadvantages are more important than the advantages? When? In which situation in the country? How is the population now in the country? Overpopulated. Okay? So we are going to go next week with the disadvantages. The advantages are good when we need people. So every new person coming, welcome. We need you to work here. We need you to create new business. We need you new people to consume in my country. When we are not so welcome to new people coming in or new people being born, we are so many right now. There is not enough jobs. There is not enough resources. Then the disadvantages will weigh more. So, underpopulation, below optimum, underpopulation. We need people, consequently, advantages if people come better. Overpopulation, too many people, new people coming in, more difficult to economic growth and GDP per head. So disadvantages are more important. So advantages are more important when we are in underpopulation. Disadvantages, bad or negative points, will be more important when we are overpopulated. Do you understand? It's easy concept, no? If we have too many people, disadvantages are more important when people coming in here. And we have not enough people, the advantages are more important. So that's all for today. Effects of an increasing population. We saw the positive effects. Next day we'll see the negative effects of an increase in population. Okay? See you next day.